Well, it's getting back to summer and that means time for hot tubs, and we've got ourselves a hot tub to repair. So I'm going to take you through how to repair, get them all ready, and this is one of a couple of hot tub videos that are coming up very shortly, so don't forget to subscribe down the bottom. Got some more hot tub videos coming shortly. So this one, let's get started. Well, so I'll just talk you through this first bit on my own. So this one is a hot tub that I picked up from eBay fairly cheap, and the problem is it keeps deflating. So the inflatable outside keeps losing air somewhere along the lines. So I'm going to show you how we find that out, and then hopefully going to be able to repair it. And I'll show you how to glue the repair patches on and do things like that. But the first thing you want to do is use one of these hand pumps. Using the big pump to load the air up. So this one's not too bad because this one you can fill up fairly quickly because it's a semi-rigid base. Now if you've got one of the older models that's just air, then go ahead, use the pump to fill it up at first and then switch to the hand pump and we'll work from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is blow it up so we get it up ready and about where it should normally be blown up to. And now what we want to do is, now it's inflated, first of all have a quick look around for any point where you think the air might be escaping from. You can either hear it or sometimes you can see where it's leaking from. So take a good look around it and listen carefully, and hopefully you'll be able to hear a few of the leaking points. Not sure if the microphone will hear that, but it sounds like it's coming from down here somewhere. But this is the problem, trying to find it is really difficult. And this is what I'm going to show you, a quick trick to try and find out where exactly it's leaking from. So before it deflates too quickly, let me show you what we need. This is what we're after, something like this, a little spray watering can. This one is a pressurized one you can pick up pretty cheap. Basically gives us a little spray of water, and what we're going to do is we're going to spray where I think the leak is coming from, and hopefully we'll see some bubbles forming. It sounds near, I can hear it. There it is. Now actually, what I should have done as well is you can put a little bit of washing up liquid into the spray and that would attach and make bubbles, but I think we found our leak, because every time I put my finger over it, it stops making the noise. So I think that's where our leak is. So now we've got that, we can go and try and fix it. I'm going to show you what I call a double repair, because what I like to do is actually do it as a two-part. Now, first of all, what we do is dry it off, and I use this, which is actually for car repairs. I'll put a link down the bottom. So it's a leak sealer and it's a fast curing. Cures in about an hour. You can use it for all sorts of things. But this is what I use as my initial sealer. And all I do is just squirt a little bit on. Now, because air's still coming out, it'll actually start to push the sealant out. So what we need to do is go around and release a bit of the air pressure. Because the last thing we want is the bit of air building up to actually push out our seal repair. So you see, I just push it quite hard because you want to try to force it into the hole. And as a secondary to this, what I then do is I then use a bit of good old duct tape, and I put a bit of duct tape over it as well. Now the duct tape is actually going to be a temporary seal. You see, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially the duct tape, but the main thing is getting the sealant round it. And that should now be setting, so we can leave that one to sit there and set for a while. I tend to leave it overnight to make sure that it's got a good seal, and you just keep repeating this process until you've found all of the leaks. And I'll show you one that I did earlier on. So this one here, this is using the same sealant, there's a bit of water on there, and you can see what it's done is it's created a bit of a flat cover over the rip or the tear. And what I did was very carefully peeled the duct tape off. Now that's a bit tricky because you've got to make sure that you're not peeling the rubber seal off underneath as well, but you should be able to do that. And now this is ready for the second stage, which is where you take a patch and you apply a patch like you regularly would repair any inflatable. Now what I'm going to use on this, so like I said, I've got the first stage repair done, and I'm going to use one of these vinyl repair kits. Now they're from Lazy Spot. I'll put a link at the bottom to the ones that you can buy. You can use pretty much any vinyl repair kit, but I thought I'd give these official ones a go and see what they're like. So I'll show you what you get inside as well. So we get a tub of the repair kit and the lid for it. We should get a few patches in here of different sizes, and that's pretty much it. So you can see that's all it is, just a few sets of these rubberized patches. Now I find it useful that they are see-through because that really does help make sure you've got all the materials sort of sandwiched in there. Now I could probably get away with the smaller one, but I tend to go for larger because a larger surface area, if you can make it work, will hold on better in the long term. Now it's getting a little bit cool out here. These work best when they're quite warm, so I'm going to warm it up in my hands first, and then we can prepare it. I'm going to show you on this one what I'm going to do. Now, I've already given this area a bit of a clean because you want it as clean as possible, so let's puncture the tube. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply quite a bit of the material to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the patch that I'm going to be laying on it to gently smooth it out. And what I'm going to make is a ring of the material. You might think I'm using quite a lot of material here, but as far as I'm concerned, you can't use too much. It's better to have plenty on here and make sure. Now I'm also just going to dab a little bit all the way around this patch that eventually I'm going to apply, because what we want is we want it to be starting to dry before we put it on. So getting it kind of all gunked up like this. Now I'm sure there's lots of different ways of doing this. This is just the way that I do this, and I found that this method works. So now that we've got that on there, I'm going to leave that for about 10-15 minutes for it to start to go tacky, because you want that to start to go tacky before you put the patch on, and then it'll adhere nicely and hold in place so it's not too liquidy and slippy. So let's give that a few minutes and I'll come back to you. Here's one I applied earlier, and you can see, first of all, I've deflated it so that it's flat. You want to get these as flat as possible so that they dry, and then you push to get as much of the air out as you can and make sure that the rubber compound, the sealant liquid, is covering under the patch. And you can see that's holding quite well. So the liquid has pushed its way out, and it's practically all the way around. That's why you want to use quite a lot. You can see there isn't quite enough on that corner. Let's now have a go with our larger patch. Now that it's had a little bit of time to start to become tacky, you can actually see that it's become tacky. And I'm pushing down on it to get as much of the air out as possible and to distribute the patch material around the inside of it. Now remember earlier I said how much to put on. Well, you can see there still isn't even quite enough of the material on this one. I should have put even more than that, so there's a bit of a gauge for you on how much you should be applying. Really put loads on, because you definitely don't want to leak. But you can see how that's tacky. It's holding it in place. It's not sliding off or moving. If it's still moving, then it hasn't had enough time to go tacky, and you want to leave it a little bit longer. Now on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh it down. I'm going to put a weight on it so that it'll hold it down and leave that overnight. So let me just get a weight to put on top of that. I'm just going to put that weight right over the top and let that hold it, and I'm going to leave that overnight. So that should hold that one and help seal that one on our liner. And fingers crossed, once I've done that, if you remember I did the seal on the far side, I'll have to wait until this one sets overnight, and then we can go around, lift it up, because you want to get the patch as flat as you can when you apply these to it. We'll go and do the one on the other side. So I'll come back to you once that one's had time to set, and we'll go and take a look at the other one. By the way, for all of these repair kits and sealants and things like that, keep them indoors. Don't leave them out with the hot tub, don't leave them in the shed, the garage, things like that. The rubber in these prefers to be at room temperature, and it makes it a lot easier to manipulate and mould around your hot tub. If it's cold, you'll find the patches are hard, brittle, they won't bend and flex as much. I mean, even if you need to, put them in some warm water or a warm hairdryer just to soften them up a little bit before you put them on. So there's a little tip. So try to keep them indoors until you need them. So I'm going to take these indoors, we'll leave this one overnight, and we'll see how we get on. It's been a few days since the repair, so I've taken my weight off it and I can show you the repair. Now you can see Remember I said about getting the glue, like putting lots on and getting it around the corners. You can see the edge here hasn't glued fully. Smaller ones worked quite well, it's got all the way around, but you can see, so that's where I've gone slightly wrong. So when you do yours, make sure you do get plenty around all the outside and make sure it does push all the way out. But I think we're good there. So what I think we'll do is I'll connect the pump back up again. Let's blow it up and see whether it starts to deflate again. Again, I'm just using the manual hand pump to blow it up, because then we can keep an eye on it and watch it blow up slowly. That's blown up nice and hard now. I can't hear any hissing noises like we did the first time, which was when the air was escaping. So now it's blown up. I'm going to leave this for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, and just see whether it starts to deflate. Hopefully though, it won't deflate, and we've fixed our leak problem. So the next thing will be to fill it up, see if it holds water.